Assessing the library needs of vulnerable teenagers, including immigrants, non-English speakers, and those in poverty. This is an LIS 570 research project by Annalise Asé, Krishena Peters Bishop, Maureen Quinlan, and Kari Whitney, candidates for a Master of Library and Information Science degree at the University of Washington iSchool. Libraries are often ground zero for the emergence and focus of social action in our communities. How a library responds to patron needs sets the groundwork for creating an inclusive and unified community. One important patron group is teenagers, particularly those from vulnerable and often underserved backgrounds. Research shows that teens use the library with incredible frequency. One study found that 67% of 12th graders use the public library and 93% use their school library. Another study observed that children of all ages and from all income levels use the library heavily, including its printed and video materials and, when available, the computers. In particular, though, minority and low-income groups use libraries for events and programming at higher rates than book circulation. With focus on workforce development, lifelong learning, traditional and media literacy, the library can be a place where teens set themselves up for a better future, especially those who come from a disadvantaged background. We wanted to explore data from the perspectives of library professionals as well as vulnerable teenagers in order to answer the following questions. What library services are currently available to vulnerable teens? What are the unique library needs of vulnerable teens? Are these services available? And are these services being used? Here's how we went about gathering our data. We conducted 5 observations in 5 different locations. These included an observation of a teen library leaders meeting in Somerville, Massachusetts, a program for teens and tweens in Tacoma, Washington, an observation of a teen space program at a Seattle Public Library, and observance of previously recorded teens podcast recorded by teens for teens in Seattle, Washington, and an observational study of the web pages and social media presence of all the public libraries in Washington state. We conducted 2 interviews. These included one 45-minute interview with teen librarian Ron Castile in Somerville, Massachusetts, and one 40-minute interview with teen librarian Saeteurn in Seattle, Washington. We also conducted 2 short surveys with a total of 55 respondents. These included an online questionnaire answered by 31 respondents ages 13 to 18, and an online questionnaire answered by 24 middle and high school librarians. Our research showed trends around physical library spaces, teen programming, the importance of teen voices, and the use of digital spaces. In particular, we noted evidence around the topics of specifically allocated teen spaces, a voice for teens to advocate for themselves, and, perhaps not surprisingly, free food. Let's talk about the library as a physical space. It's a place where teens can go to feel secure. For some, it's the only place they feel comfortable and safe, where they're able to get academic support and where they can connect with local resources. It may also be the only space that caring adults can trust to shelter and nurture teens when not at school or at home. Programming, books, and technology can occupy teenagers' time in the library. They can feel comfortable doing their homework, exploring new information in print and digital media. Herein, the library becomes an incubator for successful, educated, and engaged citizens. We saw this firsthand at the teen space of the Douglas Truth branch of the Seattle Public Library. Teens were there, using the space to hang out, socialize, and entertain themselves. Teens can have a real impact in their communities when they feel a sense of ownership, belonging, and place at their public libraries. Providing their input for the programming, design, services, and materials at a library empowers teens to feel they are part of their community. Libraries that offer platforms for voices from traditionally marginalized communities have the opportunity to serve teens from vulnerable backgrounds more effectively. At the Seattle Public Library, a group of teens have been creating podcasts for teen audiences. Here's a clip from an episode in which they discuss their ideas for their ideal library space.
Oh, I got an idea. Just now. What we could do is we could have student artwork, or young adult artwork that young adults have created on the walls, and maybe sort of an art show kind of thing.
Teens are insightful and engage in thoughtful discourse about difficult topics when given the chance. Here's another clip from a different episode in which they discuss diversity and equality in America.
What can the library do?
That's a good question.
Me? Well, I've said this before for many other things, but like through books, through education. I mean, reading does so much for some people who do read, and that's how you sort of start searching for different points of view on not only just like equality and race and sexuality, gender, but almost everything.
Maddie, again, I think a lot of it is giving access to diversity. I know that in my high school English classes, you read a lot of stuff written by white people. Charles Dickens, Shakespeare, there's a lot of staples that the canon, as it's called, of literary work is quite dominated by white males. And I think an important part of changing that is really keeping a collection of really diverse authors and diverse ideas.
As librarians, we can use these observations to support what these teens have to say by developing complementary design and programming and further opportunity for them to speak their minds. A common theme found across the board, as we mentioned earlier, was that free food appeals to teens and brings them in for library programs. Our literature review made us realize how libraries fill the gaps for hungry kids from vulnerable backgrounds. Somerville librarian Castile confirmed this with his remark that kids are famished by the end of the school day. Food became such a known aspect at their library that they used to have difficulty with kids coming in for the food and leaving without participating in the program. During the teen library leaders meeting there, the participants thoughtfully incorporated food into their plans to facilitate conversations around violence in their community. In Seattle, we observed programmatic snack distribution as part of the after-school program for teens and noted that they try to incorporate the teens' snack preferences as their budget allows. In our online survey of teens, one respondent listed snacks as something they wished libraries provided. Based on our readings and data collection, we feel that libraries should look at how they can provide nutritious food not only as an enticement to come to the library, but as a way to fill this basic need for vulnerable youth. Future research could include looking at ways to expand the USDA Meals Program to partner with libraries year-round to support day-long nutrition. Our individual team members have a common interest in serving at-risk populations, so for this project, we analyzed our collected ideas and experiences and pursued data collection according to our respective talents. We feel this provided a thorough and well-rounded evaluation of our topic. We were challenged by a short time frame in which to collect data, but we worked to gather as much data as possible and draw comparisons between situations without making sweeping statements about populations. In addition to the trends we noted, we also see that there are opportunities for future study, both in revising our data collection methods, but also in adding new questions to our body of work. For instance, how does a library's proximity to schools and other resources affect program success? How do libraries allocate monies for programs, dedicated spaces, and refreshments? Does the presence of younger children in a program deter teen participation? These are only some of the questions that could shape future research. Thank you for your time and interest in our presentation. We welcome and invite questions and discussion.